Welcome to One Brothas Mind, and I am KD Smooth. Today we will question and challenge popular information and views from a B1 perspective, while we expose the real facts you need. We do this to strengthen your logical, critical, and discerning thinking skills. Because in today's world, hard choices are mandatory and they come with consequences. So you need all the information. And at One Brothas Mind, we do this from a B1 Yeshua the Christ follower's perspective. Now, if you're not ready, you better get ready with KD Smooth at One Brothas Mind. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's KD Smooth coming back at you with a new report. I pray you all are doing well. Shalom, family. In today's report, we are going to discuss this issue. Yeah, you see it on your screen. We're going to discuss the issue or the fact that slavery never ended. And our focus is going to be here in the U.S., but for the most part, this also can be applied worldwide, or at least in the Western world. And here at One Brothas Mind, this is our second installment in our Slavery Never Ended series. So make sure you go to One Brothas Mind and go to the video tab or the live tab and scroll down. You'll find these previous reports. But we're going to chop it up on this issue. We're just going to jump right in. Okay. So before we get started, family, make sure you smash the like button because it really helps out our channel grow, because YouTube definitely has One Brothas Mind under a shadow ban. And make sure you share this report on all your social media with all your peoples, and be sure to be subscribed to One Brothas Mind, where we try to bring you the information and facts you need. Okay, at the beginning of this report, I'm going to share with you guys a clip. We're actually going to review a clip. It's actually multiple clips strung together of people discussing this issue on your screen from the perspective of what they are currently experiencing. Okay? Unfortunately, a lot more people, by way of actual effects, are experiencing the fact that slavery never ended. It was only expanded. And I say that, family, because for the most part, the mindset that, or the lie that has been taught and pushed in the U.S. is that basically the war between the North and the South was over. You know, most white supremacists will say states' rights, but most people clearly understand it was the right to own slaves, or it was the business of slavery that war was over. And the big old war and everything, we trying to free the slaves, it was a trick. I'm going to explain that to you in just a moment. And more people are waking up, unfortunately, as they're experiencing firsthand and living the trick, the lie. Okay? They're living it. And they're trying to figure out, unfortunately, because they're just now waking up to it. Nobody explained this to them previously. Nobody taught this to them. Or at least if they did, they didn't believe it until now. So we're going to watch this clip together and chop it up as we go through it. And then we're going to go into much more detail after we're done with our clips and explain what's really happening so you will know. And then stay with us, because at the end we're going to provide some solution options for ways of attempting to navigate the plantation. Okay? All right. Here we go. We're going to get into this clip. And like I said, we're going to actually watch this together. And we are going to chop that up starting now.
Hey, I have a question. How are we, affording life right now?
This is how cold it is in my flat right now. Can you see? I can actually see my breath. It's gonna be a long winter.
Writers, actors, UPS workers, everybody going on strike.
I have come to the realization that they just not paying nobody.
The government literally announces that aliens exist and nobody is phased.
That is literally because nobody is getting paid enough to care. Come here. At this point, we're tired of living through historical events like every other week, right? Rent too high, groceries too expensive, gas way too pricey, right? It is like the fourth day in a row where it's been 110 degrees. The alien thing is like on the back of the list.
I get up every morning at 4:30. I let my dog out, feed him, get him situated, play with him for a little bit. 5 o'clock, I start getting ready for work. Get ready for work, I'm out the door by 6. Sometimes I stop for breakfast, sometimes I don't, because I make it at home. I get here, my shift starts at 7 in the morning. I work from 7 to 4. Leave for the day, take me about 45 minutes to an hour to get home because of traffic. I do this every day for 5 days a week just to get a damn paycheck that leaves as soon as it hits my account. All this to say, I got a job. Don't get me wrong. My dude, he works. Sometimes 12-hour days. He come home, he hurting, he sore, he tired. I'm hurting, I'm mentally tired from dealing with people all damn day and their attitudes. Y'all, I am stressed the out. And what's crazy is that this paycheck barely even helps. Barely. I shouldn't have to feel guilty because I want a new pair of scrubs. Or me and my dude want to go out for a nice dinner because we deserve it because we work hard. I don't drive a $100,000 car. I drive a regular ass fucking Jeep. He drives a regular damn SUV too.
As we move forward, family, one additional note that I forgot to mention. Within some of these clips, there is some choice or explicit language that is used. These people are literally describing what they and many, many more others are experiencing. So it's real to them. But as we go forward, if you're in a place, a non-public place at work or whatever, might want to put your headphones on because there will be some choice language as we move forward. But I'm going to allow these people on this occasion to just express themselves, and so you really can get a sense of how they feel. Okay, let's continue.
don't wear Jordans. I don't do all that shit. I live a very simple life. The only splurge I have is getting my nails and my feet done here. I just started YouTubing how to do my own damn hair. I shouldn't have to feel guilty because I want to do something for myself. Y'all, I'm so stressed out. I need to clock in at 7 o'clock, which is literally in 2 minutes. And I'm at work. I just don't want to go in this bitch. Like, I'm sick of coming here out for me to get a paycheck that barely even, it barely even helps. It seems like the only motherfuckers that's happy is the damn crackheads and the millionaires and millionaires. The working class people stressed the out, hair falling out. They can't even go to the damn doctor to check on themselves because they jobs is full of shit. Hell, jobs don't even want to let you out for a damn vacation. Y'all, I'm stressed the fuck up. Like,
slavery never ended.
At this point, like, what's the point? Just to say that I got a damn job?
So how much more is going to have to happen for all of us to decide collectively to just start striking? Like, what else is going to have to happen before we all get together and decide we not taking it no more? Because I'm waiting for everybody to decide to quit their jobs. They can't punish all of us. They're going to have to do something. If we all just stop working, we all stop paying rent, they can't put everybody out. So when is enough? Tell me. Because I've been ready to quit. Okay? I'm ready whenever y'all are. The current state of the world, it can't be sustained like this for too much longer. It's not possible. The rioting, the striking, the hottest summer ever, the sea animals are revolting, the aliens.
Yes, family, there is something more coming. If you're not familiar with biblical prophecy, you need to get familiar. And not just with biblical prophecy. You need to get familiar with our Lord and Savior, Yehoshua HaMashiach. Because there is more coming.
It's the series finale, guys. It's about to be done anyways. We might as well go out with a bang and quit paying all this rent and do some traveling, see some sights that we ain't never seen before. Honestly, I think it's time, guys. I think it's time.
Here's the short version. We went to the same Costco in the same town in Southern Oregon and bought all the same stuff as I did 8 years ago. Back in 2015, this cart of food cost $139.76. That's a lot of food. That's a full shopping cart of food. It's all mostly healthy because that's how I used to eat 8 years ago. And in 2023, at roughly the same time of year, summertime, this cart of food costs $171.26. Jason, my buddy, Jason, he just did the math on that, and that's
tried to do it here.
Tell us, what was it?
It was about 23%.
23% food increase.
Yeah.
Is that a lot? Is that significant? I think it's pretty significant.
I didn't get a 23% increase in pay.
Slavery never ended. It was only expanded.
I don't need to raise my prices.
In the last 8 years?
Yeah. No.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent. Yes, my kids are grown adults. My oldest is 28, my youngest is 25. And I thought by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're going to get the things in life that you need, right? Worked for me, why wouldn't it work for them? Because it doesn't. Because the world has fucking changed, all right? And now I feel like I see them struggling. And before my generation comes at me, yes, I understand struggling is a part of life. We all struggled. But there's a difference between struggling and drowning, all right? So we struggled and it was tough. But you know what? We made it. We knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel with our struggle. It seems like kids today, no matter how much they struggle, they just get further and further down the water into the drowning point, all right? When I was their age, I was making less than $10 an hour. And I could afford to live on my own. Now you have to be making 6-figure salary to get a decent, tiny little place to live. So what the fuck is going on, and how do we help them as parents? I told my son, all you have to do is work hard, go to college, or join the military like I did. He went to college, got his degree, got a full-time job. He moved back in with me right when he graduated from college because he said, hey, Mom, as soon as I get a job, which was within 2 weeks of him getting out of college, maybe take me 2 months and I'll save up enough money for me to move out. Okay, cool. It's been 10 months. He has saved almost every dime and still can't afford to live. Why are one-bedroom studio apartments almost $2,000 a month? Why? Like, I just don't get it. So I don't even think that there's even classes anymore. There used to be, upper class, middle class, lower class. It's literally turning into the ultra wealthy, and then everybody else is just poor.
It's because slavery never ended. It was expanded.
Like, that's what is happening. And then I told him, hey, when you turn 25, at least your car insurance will go down. Hell no, he turned 25 and his car insurance went up $150. I tell him, if you need health insurance, get a good job. He has health insurance. He has had a medical emergency this week. Had to go to an emergency room twice. He had to go to the emergency room because he couldn't get anybody to see him with the health insurance that he had. Right? So he had to go to an emergency room. Now he's out money for that too. It seems like you can never get ahead. And then my daughter, I told her all you have to do, because she wanted to buy her own house. My daughter worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day to save up enough for this down payment. Finally got this house. She's paying double what I'm paying for my mortgage, but her loan was the same amount. And then her mortgage company, after she's already moved in, said, oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you that you need this type of coverage, which we forgot in the beginning. That's an extra $200 you've been paying a month. And all they see when they come home is they watch social media, kids their age on lavish vacations with all this money and nothing to do, all these social media influencers, because we value those types of things over hard workers. We will pay them $10,000, but you work 40 hours a week, you can't afford it.
Hi, I'm a disillusioned millennial who grew up believing in the American dream only to have it stolen from me by inflation. I thought I would have a house at this stage of my life. Instead, I'm watching memes about how the government discovered aliens. To be honest with you, I don't even care. Why? Because this stupid news isn't gonna help me buy a house. I digress. After sitting camera off through a bunch of meetings at work, I decided to take a quick Target break to make myself feel better. I went to Target to make myself feel better, but it only made me feel worse. Why? Because I ended up spending $70 on toothpaste, mouthwash, eggs, and leave-in conditioner. Just another reminder of why I can't buy a house. I decide to end the day binge watching Succession to disassociate from my miserable life. And forget the fact that I still owe Biden my student loans.
Can you please lower the prices of food or make it easier to access?
Absolutely not. What's really crazy about this is that I was talking to somebody who works at Walmart a few days ago. My friend told me that they have seen way more people stealing in the past month than they've seen in the whole 3 years that they've worked at Walmart. And I said, what do you guys do when they steal? And they said, we turn our backs, because legally they can't do anything, but also because she doesn't fucking care. She sees how much fucking food is. She's not judging them, so she just doesn't say anything. And honestly, I don't judge them either. Like, I'm not even surprised that people are stealing food at this point. People are literally starving out there. The only way we're making it is by couponing. So I'm not surprised that people are stealing food. And honestly, it's only going to get worse. If something isn't done about these corporations and their price gouging and calling it inflation, things are just literally going to continue to get worse. And people will continue to steal.
We are the closest we have ever been as a global collective to waking the fuck up. I'm just saying, it is the world's shortest walk from, damn, living and breathing and existing is so fucking expensive, to, wait, there's aliens and we're down here dying for fake money? All I'm saying is proof, or even talk about proof of life from other worlds, should snap us out of our myopia. It should put the universe in existence and truly everything into question. We are down here suffering as a species over shit that we made up. We have never had such a brilliant opportunity to finally, for fucking once, band the fuck together and come up with solutions. I, for one, plan to take up woodworking so I can start building guillotines. I just don't have the workspace right now.
Hey, I have a question. How are we, affording life right now? So, for reference, I'm in my mid 30s. I'm a millennial. I have 3 young kids. Both my husband and I have full-time jobs. So I'm a night shift nurse. I work full-time and I work overtime. I've gotten pretty used to that. I work incentivized shifts when my hours are getting cut at work because they don't need all the extra anymore. And so we're going through our budget because it's been quite tight. My husband also has a very decent paying job, makes almost as much as I do on the hour, not quite, but almost. And we're not gonna, without me working overtime or working extra, like with me just working my normal hours, we're not sure that we're going to be able to make it. Like, somebody's gonna have to pick up a second job, or we're gonna have to do something. The house that we bought is, like, we don't live in an expensive area. We live in the Midwest. We bought this house in 2017. It's not anything extravagant. Our kids go to public school. We drive old cars. Like, we don't have student loans. We don't have excessive debt. Like, how are we doing this right now?
It's because they fell into the trap of the American dream. She just went through explaining the life that they are living, the things that they have. What she's not referring to is 9 times out of 10, they bought a home, probably a $300,000 home in the Midwest, and they have a 30-year mortgage. They're being destroyed with interest payments. They're being literally robbed because they're living out the American dream. They have 3 children. That's what they wanted to have, we must assume. But did they plan out the economic impact that each child was going to have on their family? And whether or not should they actually have 3 children? Could they afford 3 children? The one positive thing she's mentioned thus far is they don't have student loans. Either they didn't sign up for student loans to go to college, which is a part of the so-called American dream, or they found alternate ways to get their advanced education and or licenses or certifications, which if they did, that's a plus. I applaud them for that because there's ways to do that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more toward the end of this report. But what she's describing is we're doing what we're supposed to do, or what most everybody else is doing, and trying to live the same life and doing things the same way. But now that they're in the trap, they're realizing it's a trap. It's an economic trap. You're just working to pass your earnings on to someone else. You're not really building much wealth, if any at all. So you come to realize the only way to maintain this trap that you're in, that you've gotten used to, that you were told or believed you have to have, is you just got to keep working. You got to keep doing exactly what you are doing forever. And they're realizing that's not realistic. There may be health concerns that come up. People get tired. People go through situations where they want to change with it. They want to do something else. And those types of things and others confirm we're in a trap that we put ourselves into. We walked right into it, doing pretty much everything they said we should be doing, and doing those things the way they said we should be doing them. That's a trap. Let's continue.
How are we like our grocery bill is insane, and we don't even buy, we just buy to get us through week to week, like not even crazy stuff. Like, what? How are you guys doing this? How are we doing it? Because I'm not going to be able to, and I know how much I make, and I know how much my husband makes, and I used to think that was really, really good money. So how are people surviving on less than what we're making? And I used to think that was like a lot of money. Like we're in the 6-figure range combined.
Pause right there. Now, didn't she say she was like a nurse? And don't miss that. She previously said she was a nurse. But she just said the combined income of hers and her husband's, with her working overtime, they're combined in the 6-figure range. So in other words, without her husband's income, she's not making 6 figures as a nurse. Did some of y'all catch that? Did you catch that? So basically, one of the errors here is she or they did not survey the nursing field and the average pays across most of the country. Because there are a lot of nurses that, depending on what city they're in, the nurse is making 6 figures or just under it. So by themselves. So they're not experiencing this situation where she has to have her husband income to actually make 6 figures. But this couple is. Again, all throughout her description of what's happening, there's a multiple things that this couple has done pretty much because it's just what they thought they were told or thought you're supposed to do. They didn't really make decisions and plans with the best economic outcome as their focus. Do we need to relocate to a new city where we both are going to make a higher income within our career fields, but contrast that with the cost of living price in that city? Certain career fields and incomes are paid better versus the cost of living in certain cities, but you have to do that research. You have to identify those and then literally be willing to relocate, especially when you're young and you're coming out of college or some vocational school. Before you have children, you have to, that's the information that you, amongst others, you really need to gather to say, do I need to stay here? Can I afford to stay here in the city that I grew up in? Or do I need to make an adjustment? Do I need to relocate? They didn't do that. So now she's in the or they are in the situation that she's describing, and she's a nurse, great profession, usually one of the higher paying professions, but she still needs her husband's income to actually reach into the six-figure area or the lower six-figure area. When, as a nurse, if she had done her research, she should be right at six figures by herself in the right city. And then her husband's income would just be additional income on top of that in the right city. And if they pick the right city, you put those together, or that income together, versus the cost of living in that city, and they would be doing much better. But if they did all that research, there's other things she's mentioned in this clip that, like she's talking about groceries. They buy groceries weekly, like once a week. Nobody taught them how to grocery shop for a family or for yourself, frankly. Based on what she said, no one told them. They just go to the box with the food in it, the store, buy stuff, put it in the cart, push it up, pay for it every week. No, that is not how you grocery shop, number one. Number two, a lot of people are stuck grocery shopping. They go in the grocery store, they see things that they want. They go, "Ooh, I get this. I like this. Or I like that. I get this. I get that." And that's the extent of grocery shopping, just seeing and grabbing the things they want, put it in their basket and paying for it. That is not how you grocery shop, family, if you didn't know. You hopefully would have had somebody teach you and train you, preferably your parents, as you were growing up, on how to grocery shop. You have to price compare, okay? Whatever the thing is that you're looking to buy, you have to price compare. There's some of the most expensive options for the item or items that you're looking for, and then there's the medium or mid priced options, and then there's the cheapest priced options. Okay? The best option is for you to try to figure out, or at least make a try of the cheapest options to see if those are acceptable to you as far as taste, and if they meet what you're wanting. And as many of those cheaper price options that do measure up to what you're wanting to buy those. Not the most expensive price options, but you got to go through, the time and the effort of trying. Okay, here's what I normally would buy. Let me try this other one. It's a lot cheaper. Let me try this store brand model. Let's see if there's any significant difference. And if there's not, I'll use the store brand model because that saves me money. Okay? But that's just the first level of grocery shopping. The next level is somebody should hopefully, or you have to learn, somebody should teach you, or you have to learn that buying in bulk most times is even cheaper than buying the cheapest option. Okay? So you have to learn to buy in bulk. That's why a lot of people have the wholesale memberships, things of that nature, because they're trying to buy in bulk because they've realized or been taught buying in bulk most of the time is cheaper. But you can't just say, okay, well, I'll go to the wholesale club and just buy what I want and then I'm saving money. No. The wholesale clubs play the same price games that the grocery stores play. So you have to, whether you want to or not, you have to learn the prices the per pound, the per each, the per ounce, whatever it is, you have to learn those prices on your on all of your items that you purchase, but especially on the consistent mainstays that you're going to always be purchasing. Okay? So that even if you go to the wholesale house, you are able to ensure that the bulk item that you're buying, you're actually getting a cheaper price compared to the grocery or grocery store version of that item. The grocery brand, it's not even the name brand. Your goal is to get what you want, to get what meets your taste. Let's say that when you talk about food and what have you, but at the cheapest price you can get it. And again, a lot of people, this America, most people just think we can always just have what we want. The question is, can you afford what you want? It's not you can just have what you want, but can you afford it? Hello. Okay, apologies, family. We had some technical difficulties there for a moment, but I think we're back. So we'll continue. Where I left off was, the question is, can you afford your taste, if you will? A lot of us have expensive taste. We like everything that tastes the best of every. Okay, can you afford that? Most Americans cannot. That's just the reality. In this family, they can't afford their grocery bill, or they're barely affording. If they connected with someone that knew how to grocery shop properly, and they took some time and researched and tried cheaper products, buying in bulk in a cheaper fashion, all that, if they did the work, in approximately 4 to 6 months, they may be able to significantly reduce their grocery bill. Especially, another little nugget, going grocery shopping per week, literally that method costs you more money, is more expensive. You need to get to where you're buying in bulk, cheap enough to where basically you only go to the grocery store for a full grocery run approximately once a month. Yeah, you still, after that, every so often you'll have to go to the store and get some milk, bread, and eggs, the fast, the quick perishable items. But the majority of all your other stuff, you got all that. You don't need to go back to the store and get no more of that. These are methods of how to reduce your grocery bill that unfortunately most people have never been taught or trained how to do. Okay? Let's continue.
And we're like barely, like I said, we're barely cutting it. And we're not extravagant people. Like, we don't have like recreational vehicles or anything. We don't go on vacations, nothing. How are you doing this?
To the government right now. I will not forget the winter where I have had to wear 3 sets of pajamas in bed and cuddle up under 2 duvets. As a future voter, I will not be forgetting it.
They just not paying nobody. And when I say nobody, I mean nobody, no worker is actually getting what they are worth and what their contribution to their company is. These major companies, these corporations, these industries, these institutions, they make all of this money. I mean, an unfathomable amount. And they just hoard it. They keep it to themselves.
Writers, actors, UPS workers, everybody going on strike, and I love to see it. Do you know why? Because labor strikes are the best example that we have of the fact that this country is built off of slavery. And if you never thought about it that way before, it's okay, it's not your fault. In 1860, enslaved people in the United States produced 2 billion pounds of cotton. Billion with a B. Remember, by 1860, there were 4 million enslaved people in the United States. That's more people working for free than are currently working for Walmart, Amazon, and McDonald's combined. And the inhumane conditions in which you are expected to work right now are because of that. We are not taught about the first labor strikes in this country. Indigenous people just refusing to work as slaves or in exchange for unfair treaty agreements because they had the advantage of knowing how to survive in the climate and terrain of North America. You're not taught about the enslaved people who burned crops, who purposefully worked slower, who broke machines, who ran away into the forest, not permanently, but just long enough to stop production on the plantation, or the ones who just walked away to join the Union Army. This country, in its current form, can only survive if as many people as possible are working themselves to the bone in bare minimum conditions.
Slavery never ended. It was only expanded.
Or as close to free as possible. So yeah, don't cross the picket line. Keep striking. Strike, strike, strike. I love it.
Yo, what the f are we doing here, man? What the f is going on? I just left the supermarket and drove past a whole ass homeless family on the... Yo, what the f, man? Like, why is it that I can take the last $50 out of my bank account? Why do I only have $50 left? Oh, because I went to college. That's why. Why can I take the last money out of my goddamn bank account and you fucking millionaires, you just sit here and you watch everybody suffer? Are you selfish ass celebrities? Are you bullshit ass billionaires? All of you.
This sister is expressing her frustration, but her frustration is misguided. Okay? Her frustration is misguided. And the reason why I say that is because she has a expectation that in the U.S. or in the Western world, which is a capitalistic system, it's capitalism. It means one person is going to capitalize on the next, or one person is going to take advantage of the next person. And within that system, that satanic system, I should say this satanic system, her expectation is just everybody's going to share enough resources and wealth around with everybody so everybody is okay. Everybody, no. This is a capitalistic system. Either she was never taught this or she never listened. This is a satanic capitalistic system. Many of the other system types or types of governance are satanic as well, but we're focused on what we are dealing about, because all, or at least majority of the other different forms or types of governance, they're all satanic too. They accomplish pretty much the same thing, which is the haves profiting more and more and more, while the have-nots are getting poorer and poorer and poorer. They all have different ways of doing it, you know, but it's basically the same system. And most systems, you know, have a caste system to where wherever level you're born in at, you're destined or restricted from ever advancing yourself and your family out of the level that you're born on. So if you're born on a literal poverty, homeless, bottom level in that society, in that system of governance, that's where you're going to stay. You know, so again, I'm not saying that the U.S. system is satanic because there's some better system that's not satanic. Most of them are, because they still all accomplish basically the same thing. Most of them are all satanic. But today we're focusing on the U.S. system. But she is so, and I understand it, she's emotionally angry because she's struggling like millions of other people, so-called middle class, that thought they were in the middle class. Let me make that point. A lot of people mentally and emotionally hyped themselves up to believe they were in the middle class. Be clear, here at One Brothas Mind, the middle class is defined as a property owner with significant retirement savings, and the ability to not only afford the lifestyle, to comfortably afford the lifestyle that they're living. All the while knowing by the numbers, not just the idea, but by the numbers of their financial resources, they're going to be able to comfortably retire and live a comfortable retirement life. The middle class is able to afford to travel multiple times throughout each year, say for a vacation, comfortably. Not putting cruises on your charge card, on your credit card. No, that's not middle class. Comfortably afford. It's within your budget. Most Americans are living, doing things, traveling, buying the groceries, whatever, paying their expenses. And when they get done, they got basically nothing left, or they're actually in debt because they're paying a lot of their expenses with credit cards. Even their entertainment expense, whatever the case may be. That's not middle class. But she said she was middle class. She's not if all she got is $50 in the bank. I'm sorry, I don't care what career you have. That's not middle class. That's one of the things that most people, especially here in America, do. You know, we gas ourselves up, hype ourselves up, thinking, oh, we're doing so much better. We got it going on. We got to. There's people who are literally struggling that still think they're middle class, and they're not. They're just not. So just wanted to go over these clips. Now, family, we are going to go into some more details as to what's happening and why here at One Brothas Mind, I say slavery never ended. It was only expanded. All right, on your screen, pause it if you have to. The second or middle sentence there basically reads, back in 1990, the average cost for rent was $500 a month for an apartment, like a one-bedroom apartment. And the average income was approximately $30,000, right? Now you look at the top sentence, the average rent is now $2,000. So in 1990, it was $500. Today, it's $2,000 for the average rent. That's a 4 times increase, right? So you would think that the average income today has also increased 4 times to keep up with the cost increase, the cost of living increase. In this example, rent. No. You see it on your screen. The average income was $30,000 in 1990. And today, the average U.S. income is approximately $50,000. That's not a 4 times increase. That's not even double. So all that you've seen here on these clips are people basically expressing their frustration with this reality. Expenses and costs have increased, but income has not. It's actually decreased in comparison. In other words, instead of the average income being $50,000 today, if it ran parallel and increased the same as cost, the average income today should be approximately $130,000. People who have an income of $130,000, they are affording today's cost much easierly. Okay? But that's why I said earlier, in the earlier clip where the lady was talking about her and her husband, she was a nurse and they're making 6 figures, but they're in the low 6 figures. They're just above 100K combined. Because if they're making $130,000, she shouldn't be making a video. Unless they're literally just not being frugal and just spending their income on all kind of wasted expenses. That could be an issue too, because a lot of people that think they're middle class, they waste a lot of money on complete wasteful spending. And then when their money's low or running out or what have you, they're like, what's going on? No, part of that is what you are wasting money on. A lot of things are not needed. It's just fluff. And that's another thing that a lot of people in the Western world, like you saw that first clip, the lady was sitting in her apartment. She was in the UK and didn't have, her heat was not on because she couldn't afford to pay it. And it was wintertime. Okay? But a lot of people, they just think, because they weren't taught, I can buy whatever I want. I can spend money on whatever I want, having fun and woody woody woo. No, you can't. That wasteful money or wasteful spending that you're doing, that's the money that you're supposed to be saving and investing for when the storm comes in your life. But most people don't do that. And then they're making video clips like these because they see that they're out of options for the most part. They're struggling, or even worse, have fell into being homeless. And they're looking around like, what the hell? I work. I'm a hard worker. I put in my time. why am I still experiencing this level of financial struggle? It's not that you're a horrible person. No, that's not it. It's this satanic capitalistic system. And if you are not, nobody teaches you and breaks this down and makes you understand how this system works, so then you can make a plan to navigate it and beat the satanic system at most turns, you're going to fall into the trap and you may not be able to find a way out of it. And that's the most unfortunate part. You may not be able to find a way out of it. As I said, slavery never ended. It was only expanded. I've been explaining this and saying this to people for decades. And everybody, people would tell me I was crazy 15, 20, 25 years ago when I was telling them this. What? Man, you tripping. It did, I'm like, no, it didn't. They just expanded slavery to include more people so they can make even more money. They just opened it up for the majority. That's all they really did. Right? That's all they really did. But again, people told me when I was crazy. I peeped this out when I was like 16, 17 years old. Was it because I'm so much smarter, intelligent, better? No. I watched what was going on. I looked, I paid attention, and certain things started not making sense to me. I'll give you an example. At 16, 17 years old, while being a high school student, like most of us, I worked in my area, in my city, I worked at the Sizzler, right? And while working there, I realized within a few weeks, it didn't take long, I just had to listen and pay attention. A significant portion of the staff that I work with, my coworkers at the Sizzler, they were college graduates. Some of y'all picked up on what that problem just immediately. I'll explain to everyone else. Why in the hell is college graduates working at the Sizzler are having the same jobs that a high school student has? Exactly. So that was the burning question that I had while working there. I sat down. If I had to, I would buy those my coworkers that graduate college. I would buy them lunch. Like, I'll buy you lunch if you eat lunch with me and answer a few of my questions. Okay. All of them didn't charge me, but y'all get the point. I sat down and had lunch with these college graduates at that time. And this was back in the late 80s, right? And I asked them, I said, look, that question, why are you still working here and you already graduated college? And almost verbatim, all of them gave me the same hustle, scam, college spew that their colleges gave them, that their college guidance counselors gave them, which basically was, when you graduate college, it's going to take most college graduates anywhere from 6 months to 2 years before they find and acquire a job in their field of study. And these was my white brothers and sisters telling me this, y'all. Don't miss that point. And I'm listening to them. I'm looking at them. You just signed up for a gang of student loan money that you now are having to make the payments on now. They don't wait until you get a a job in your career field of study, you're paying that now. They're like, yeah, I know. And she was like, or they were like, that's part of the BS. I'm like, and you're sitting here, you're applying and sending your resume around, and it's going to take that long, possibly? That ain't right. Again, I figured this stuff out not because I'm so smart, so intelligent. I paid attention. I asked questions. When there's something you don't know or understand, the best thing you can do is ask questions. Of many people that have the information, that have done what you're trying to do or are doing what you're trying to, and so you can figure out what's going on. It's only common sense, which is uncommon today. So I quickly learned, okay, especially with me being a melanated brother, I'm like, if their wait is 6 months, if my white brothers and sisters wait is 6 months to 2 years, most melanated college graduates, that wait could be almost double to find a job in your career field of study. So I just didn't have to start asking myself questions. Am I going to sign up for that? My answer was, hell no. I have to find another way. And I did, but I won't go into that in this report. Ultimately, basically, I got a certification in my career field, and I got it for free because I did it while I was in high school at a vocational course, and that's how I got into my professional career. The same professional career I worked with nothing but, or let's take that back. It was about, I want to say about 60% college graduates and 40% vocational graduates, certification holders. But we all made the same money. The difference is the vocational certificate holders, we didn't have the student loan debt that the college graduates that I worked with had. We didn't have that. And all the college graduates was like, man, I should have did it the way y'all did it. Because we all ended up in the same spot. I'm like, exactly. So, just an FYI, family. So, this is why more and more people are struggling or today and experiencing, as my white brother in the grocery clip. There was a 23% grocery increase, in inflation. And again, on your screen, the cost of rent has went up 4 times. But most people's incomes have not increased 4 times. So therefore, they may be making $50,000 a year, thinking I'm doing good. No, you're making a slave wage. Because the wage you're making today, as you're hearing everyone in these clips describe, is barely just enough for you to make it. Don't get sick. Don't get fired. Don't let nothing interrupt your slave job and slave wage, because if you get an interruption overnight, almost, you could become homeless too. Okay, let's move on. Now, right quick, I want y'all to read through this explanation of slavery. And then after this, we're going to read through the explanation of being an employee. And when we're done, I want y'all to tell me what's the difference. Okay, for a slave or an enslaved person, if I capture you, this is the owner or slave master speaking. If I capture you, kidnap you, pay or provide you only enough to sustain your life, I own you. I own your labor, skill, speech, creativity, and all you produce belongs to me. You can never leave until I say so, according to my direction and profit. You are my property to do to and use as I see fit. If you contend or not obey me in any way, I will destroy you. That's a slave master's mentality, right? That's how he views the relationship, right? Well, let's look at an employer's or corporation or the government's mentality. If you agree to my contract and I acquire you and pay you enough to sustain your life, which is what the people were saying they were making in the clips, just enough to sustain their life, I own your labor, time, skill, speech, conduct, and creativity. All you produce at work belongs to me. You cannot leave until your shift or my need ends. Some of y'all are saying, wait a minute, you leave when your shift's over. No. A lot of companies have what's called mandatory overtime clauses. Yeah, don't forget that. On paid time, you are my property for profit to use as I command. If you contend or not obey me in any way, I will cancel your compensation and terminate you. Some of y'all are already getting it. There really ain't no difference between being a slave and being an employee that's paid slave wages. There's no difference. This is what all our brothers and sisters in these clips were expressing. There's really no difference. And they're finally waking up to that fact. Now, all these foo-foo people want to argue and try to say, no. For people that are, your income as an employee is only enough to sustain your life. You're not saving, you're not building wealth. If you just living check to check, basically, you're a slave. Because slavery never ended. It was only expanded. And don't sleep on the clause here where it says, I own your labor, your time, your skill, your speech, your conduct. I want to focus real quick on that conduct. That's your conduct while at work and in your personal time. Y'all have seen it. People getting terminated all over the place for stuff they're posting on social media, things that they get recorded doing on their personal time, things that they're doing and saying while they're at home in their house. Employers are terminating. So, do you really have liberty as an employee? Yeah. I think y'all get my point. Let's continue. So basically what I'm describing to you, the fact that slavery never ended, that it was only expanded, was basically, another way to put it is, what most Americans are living in and experiencing is modern day sharecropping. Okay? And sharecropping, in summary, is just a system to where you never, as the worker, you never build wealth, you never get ahead, you never can afford to buy yourself out of the agreement. And because of that, you have to continue to keep working just to survive, which is exactly what the people in these clips were expressing. They're like, I have to keep working and basically doing what I'm doing now just to pay my bills. I can quit my job and then turn around, what am I going to do? I have to go get another job that's basically going to be paying me pretty much the same and keep doing it, right? So why quit my job I got now? What's the point? Modern day sharecropping. And for my younger listeners, I'm going to go into more detail. I really want you to understand what sharecropping is. It's slavery by another name. All right. Pause the video here on your screen. Pause the video here. Let me try to get it together. All right. We're going to start at the top at number 1. Okay. Sharecropping is described and explained in all of the small text, right? But I've updated it with the larger text explaining what each station of sharecropping today looks like. Okay, so at station number 1, the sharecropper, the slave master, provided land and seed in exchange for the slave. I'm sorry, let me read it right. Sharecropper is provided land and seed in exchange. He promises landowner half of the crop. So the slave that's going to work the farm is going to split, or at least think they're splitting the profits with the landowner, which is the slave master. That's your job today. That's most people's jobs today. You make an agreement as an employee or slave for a certain amount of compensation. It may even sound good up front. You're like, cool. All right, this is a good deal. But the slave master knows what they're willing, what he's going to pay you or share, the profit sharing he's going to do with you. He's profiting way more than the worker or the slave is. Right? That's your job. That's your salary as an employee today. Station number 1. Okay? So let's go to station number 2. The sharecropper buys food and clothing on credit from the landowner's or slave master's store. Where are you spending all your money on the things that you need to operate with your family? At the mall, the stores, Amazon, whatever. It doesn't matter. Walmart. These are all slave masters. They may not be the specific one that you work for, but they're all slave masters. So you're taking the monies, the slave wage that you're paid, and then you use that to buy the things that you need and want from your actual slave masters. I think some of y'all are starting to get it. Okay, but we're going to keep going around the circle. Okay? So again, the sharecropper does the work. He plants and harvests the crop on the farm. That's your job. You're actually doing your job. The job that you're getting paid slave wages for. Right? So now we move over to the bottom to number 4. The sharecropper or slave or employee gives the landowner the crop to sell. He gives the landowner or slave master what he's producing. That's what you're producing, the service or products you're producing on your job. They are owned by the slave master, the company, the business, the owner, right? Now, the slave master or employer now will share in the earnings with the employee. That's your salary or wage. And that amount is minus the profit, basically, that the slave master or owner is keeping for themselves. Now, yes, the owner pays for the resources and supplies and, you know, all the expenses of the business expenses. But trust me, if the owner had, let's make it easy. If the owner was making $10 and they're paying you as an employee $1 and the business expense was $9, that slave master would not be in business because there's no profit. There's no point. But in most cases, the reality, the slave master or owner is making $10. They're paying the employee, the slave, $1. And the business expenses maybe $4, maybe $5. So then the rest of the $4 or $5 is all profit to the owner or slave master, if not more. So they're getting rich off of your cheap labor, your slave labor. Okay? Let's go on over to number 5. So now, when the sharecropper goes to settle up with the landowner and says to the landowner says to the sharecropper, you owe me more than you've earned. You earned $1, but you owe me $5 because of all the supplies and resources, the seed, the tools, everything that I provided for you that you needed to work the farm. You got to pay me for that, right? In today's definition, that's, remember back over here at number 2, when you go to the Amazons, the Walmarts, the mall, the wherever you go to buy all the things that you're buying to pay for your expenses, your car payment, your rent, your whatever your expenses are, you're paying the landowners or slave masters. It may not be the one you're working for, but you're still paying the slave masters. And as y'all know, most of us out here got credit card debt out, in addition to student loan debt, all kind of debt. You're signing 30-year loan mortgages and 5, 6, 7, 8-year car loans. It's all debt to the slave masters. So you're in debt. So how do you get yourself out of debt? You basically have to agree to continue to try to work more. Maybe if you work more or continue to work, you might make enough more money to pay yourself out of debt. That's never going to happen. If you're the slave, if you're the sharecropper, that's never going to happen. But what other options do you have? Which is exactly what all of the people in the clips were basically explaining. We're going to discuss your other options here in a moment. So moving on up to number 6, the only thing most people can figure out to do is they're stuck in this trap. Only thing they can do is keep working and work until they fall over and are no more. Like the sharecropper. To pay the debt, the sharecropper must promise the landowner or slave master a greater share of next year's crop. You gotta, the greater share. That's inflation. Are y'all seeing the game? Are y'all seeing? Okay, y'all seeing the whole hustle of this capitalistic system. Calling it capitalism or other names, it's still sharecropping. It's slavery. It never ended. It was only expanded to trap more people. So in the middle, by the time the sharecroppers or the slaves had shared their crops and paid their debts, if they was able to get out of debt, earn enough to get out, they rarely had any money left. Ain't that what everyone in the clips was saying? Often they're uneducated and could not argue with the landowners or slave masters or merchants, slave masters, who cheated them. A sharecropper or slave or employee frequently became tied to one plantation. The plantation today is everywhere. It's the whole system. That's the plantation. Having no choice but to work until his debts were paid. And in most cases, people are never going to pay themselves out of debt. They're just stuck. I know people right now that have student loans, they ain't trying to pay. They know they're never going to pay that stuff off. They don't earn enough money to do it, to afford to do it. That's why they're really hoping that Biden gives some kind of student loan debt relief and stuff like that. They're stuck. And it's not just student loan debts. There's people that own homes that have 30-year mortgages, and they've come to realize, I'm never going to pay this house off. I'm going to expire. My life is going to expire before I ever pay this loan 30-year mortgage off, because of what it is. They waited until they were in their 40s or 50s before they finally bought a home. And in their mind, you know, I get on people to stop buying these $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 homes, especially the older you are. If you're 35 or older, do not sign for a 30-year mortgage. You're literally putting the noose, if you will, around your neck to where you're pretty much not going to be able to pay that home off. So you're never going to own it, because you're probably going to expire before that time. Right? Also, 35 or older, yeah, can you buy a house? Yeah, but you got to go and shop for first homes, somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000, if you will, in value. But again, don't sign a 30-year mortgage on those. Do like a 10-year or a 15-year mortgage, so that in 10 years or 15 years, as long as you can afford the payment, you will actually own that property. It's yours, and you won't have to make no more mortgage payments at all. You will only be responsible for property tax and your utilities and your food bills, which that is the position that you want to put yourself into if you ever hope to retire. Okay? So, family, like I said, yeah, you can't put yourself in these traps and think that, I mean, these people thought, oh, I'll be all right. No. They did everything everybody else told them to do, the way everybody else told them to do it. And now they're on TikTok making these videos because they didn't understand what's on your screen, what I've just explained to you. And that is the fact that slavery never ended. It was only expanded. Expanded to capture and enslave even more people. Okay? That was one of the things that, if you will, if you're looking at that war, Civil War, and they talking about it was for states' rights or to free the slaves and all that. No. What that war was about was the North came up with this plan on your screen that I just went through with you. Today's version of it. And they were trying to explain it to the Southerners, and the Southerners was like, they didn't understand it. It was too complicated for them. They was like, no, we got the slaves here right now. They're working, everything's going smooth. We don't need to change nothing. They was like, no, y'all don't understand. We can not only have these slaves, we can enslave everybody and become even way more rich and wealthy. If y'all just listen to us, this plan is basically gonna do the same thing that y'all doing. We're just gonna expand it. No, like how that sound. Don't mess up my money. You don't wait for me. And boom, you end up in a civil war. That's really what happened. Because the Southerners couldn't understand how y'all gonna tell the slaves they free and then they somehow still slaves. What is that? Don't make sense. And the Northerners kept trying to, the Northern slave masters, the business owners, the government, they kept trying to explain it, and the Southerners just wasn't getting it. That's really what was happening. Okay? And with that information, family, because you're getting analysis here at One Brothas Mind that you're not getting most anywhere else. So because of that, smash the like button, share this report on all your social media with all your peoples, and be sure to be subscribed to One Brothas Mind, where we try to bring you the information and facts you need. So they did the war, the North won, and once the North won, this is what happened to most people. That's what, yeah, okay, we go. Yeah, this is what you're doing. You, your neighbor, your family members, this is what most people are out here doing. If I just run faster or make more money, a little bit more money, if I could save just a little bit more money, I'm going to get there. I see where I'm trying to go. I got to just keep going. I'm not... Sharecropping or slavery. That's what you're trapped in. This trap. And most people are just like this hamster. They are, for whatever reason, unable to figure out how to get off of this never-ending slavery trap. Because if they get off, they're going, well, I won't have this or that. I won't be able to afford, woody woo, right? That's what most people are doing, right? So, again, when the day came when the Southerners finally understood the Northerners' slavery expansion plan, and they finally understood what's on your screen. We're going to tell them that they're free, but they still must work for us. This one day the Southerners went, oh, we get it now. They're going to think they're free, but because we are in control of all industry, all employment, the laws, the rules of society, because we set those and control all these things, they can think and believe they're free, and they'll be happy and smile and come skipping to work for us every day while we continue to pay them slave wages and keep them in slavery. And we're going to do this to everybody, not just the so-called black people. And because we're doing it to everyone, Do you know how much money we gonna really sit back? We're gonna be billionaires and trillionaires. Yeah, that's basically what this is, the American capitalistic system. It's slavery by a new name. Okay? That's what it is. That's all it is. Okay? So, now I know a lot of you are saying, well, oh, wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. But slavery's in the Bible. Slavery's not bad. It's in the Bible. Let's clear that up real quick. The slavery or servitude that's in Scripture is not the same slavery or servitude or bondage that the world has used. I'm going to show you the difference right here on your screen. Let's start on the left side. In Leviticus chapter 25, verses 39 through 41. If one of your fellow Israelites, fellow brothers or people, you can expand that to, falls into poverty, whether in debt to someone else or to you, and is forced to sell himself to you, basically sell his labor to you, do not treat him as a slave. Treat him instead as a hired worker or as a temporary resident who lives with you. And he will serve you only until the year of Jubilee. I'm going to explain that in a moment. At that time, he and his children will no longer be obligated to you, and they will return to their clans, their family, their lives, and go back to the land originally allotted to their ancestors. Okay? The year of Jubilee is basically the concept in Scripture that basically all debts are forgiven in year 7 or at year 7. Year 7 is the year of Jubilee. It's the 7 is the number of completion. Okay? And I can go deeper in that, but we're not going to go into that. Okay? In this report. But that's what that's referring to. So if someone owes you money or goes into poverty and they owe other people, but they can work for you and make the money and or resources they need to pay off their debts, you can let them do that, but only for 7 years. At 7 years, you got to free them. At no charge, no cost, they're free. Okay? That's why slavery in Scripture was more just a servant or servitude. It was not chattel slavery where you've seen throughout the world in the Arab slave trade and in the U.S. transatlantic slave trade and others. It totally different. Okay? Again, one more time in Scripture, in Exodus on the right side, chapter 21, verses 1 through 4. Now this is where Yah himself provides the rules to his people for slavery. Now these are the rules that you shall set before them. When you buy a Hebrew slave, these are the rules for slavery, right out of Scripture. He shall serve you. He shall serve 6 years. And in the 7th, he shall go free for nothing. He doesn't owe you nothing else. Doesn't have to pay you nothing else. He's free. He's paid his debt off. Okay? Whether it's a debt to you or a debt to someone else, he's worked it and he's paid. He must be released. If he comes in single, he shall go out single. If he or she comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master gives him a wife, master, there's a word again. Remember, landlord? I'm gonna go into that a little bit more in a minute. Don't miss the master. That's where we just stay with me. If his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, because the slave master gave the servant the wife. That's why. And he shall go out alone. Now this verse goes on to say just after this, but if the servant, basically, I'm paraphrasing here, if he loves his wife that the master gave him, the servant can choose to stay and remain a servant, so he can stay with his wife and with his new children. And basically, especially for people who are not familiar with scripture, at that time, the master has to basically bore a wooden or a wedge into the servant's earlobe. I'm paraphrasing again. Basically, where you wear earrings at, you put something in there, like an earring, which is where one of the main places that the whole idea of earrings came from. It means you're owned by someone else, for those that ain't understanding. Okay? But that servant can have that earring, basically, or that bore put in his ear, and remain a servant for the rest of his life, stay with his wife and his new children, and continue to live out his life. But that bore is the symbol, the sign that he belongs to his master, whoever the person was that gave him his wife, and then his wife gave him his children. Okay? But these are the rules for slavery. Nowhere in here. And there's actually rules against harming or beating or deleting your slave, your servant, I should say. Okay? Your bond servant. Do your research. Here's just two. I just wanted to clear that up real quick. A bunch of people who literally don't know will say, oh, but slavery is okay. It's in the Bible. No, not the slavery you are thinking of. It's not. The slavery or servitude in Scripture has rules to it, and they are humane. Not this satanic stuff that's been going on over the last 400 years, really 500-600 years or more. Okay? Now, because these rules were in Scripture even during this time of history in Scripture, that don't mean all the other people and nations and groups of people were following these rules. But this is the example. These are the requirements that Yah gave to his people. And remember, his people, the Israelites. The Israelites are the example, or supposed to be the light of the world, the example to the world. So this is the example that Yah wants the world to use when it comes to slavery. Do you get that? Okay, let's move on. So, like I said, to the rest of the world, servants are property, slaves. They're in forever debt, sharecropping, slaves, employees. They're in forever debt because of usury. And here at One Brothas Mind, I got a whole nother report where I broke down what usury is. Many of you may have, this may be the first time you've heard the word usury. It's basically charging exorbitant interest to someone for giving them a loan, someone in poverty. Go to One Brothas Mind, go to the video or live tab and scroll down. Check on both. I forget which one the usury is in. I think it's in the live tab. And then scroll down and you'll eventually go page to page to page, and you'll eventually find the usury if you're interested in more information on that. But again, the rest of the satanic people in the world, Their servants are property or they're slaves. They are free to torture them, beat them, attack them, maim them in inhumane ways, that in every inhumane way they can think of, to force people to labor for them so they can collect a criminal, a satanic, and evil, sinful profit. They even can grape their servants or slaves. Literally. They can delete them, kidnap them, commit all these sins and others. This is the world's form of slavery. Okay? And this is what has been practiced, especially against those from the Arab slave trade and the transatlantic slave trade. Don't forget about the Arab slave trade. That jumped off before the transatlantic slave trade did. And there were others. There was slave trade. Of course, many of my Bible readers know when Israel was going into the various different bondages, when they were attacked from the Babylonian captivity, the Assyrian captivity, the Medo-Persian captivity, the Grecian captivity, and then finalizing into the Roman captivity. All throughout these, there was a slave trade of the Israelites. And other people around the world were being captured into slavery as well. Okay? So let's get into this a little further. I want to explain to you or break this down to you just so we can be clear. All right? If you are a tenant, a renter, a lot of people are unaware of this. Both of these are definitions from the Webster's website. So don't trip, but they are. If you look it up, you're going to get these exact ones. I encourage you to do. Don't take my word for it. Fact check me. All right. A tenant is one who has the occupation or temporary possession of lands or tenements of another. The most important is the another. Okay. Then it says specifically one who rents or leases a dwelling, such as a house or apartment, from a landlord. Right? And I'll go, okay, no problem. Okay. But focus on the word landlord. Now let's look up landlord. As clearly, landlord is a compound word. So the first part, that's self-explanatory. It's land, it's property, whatever. Focus on lord. What is the definition of lord? Or in this case, landlord. The owner of the property, such as land, house, or apartment, that is leased or rented to a tenant, a renter. Right? Now look at number 2, the bottom. The master of an inn or lodging house. Focus on master. Can you say slave master? The owner or ownership position. Whether you have property or land and you're renting it out to someone, whether you're the business owner, the corporation, the government, what have you, the person in the ownership position is the master or slave master. And the person doing the renting, the tenant, the temporary occupant, is the slave. Do you see that? All right. Let's continue. Let's move forward. So I just wanted to really, it's real simple, but you're not taught this information in the satanic schools because they don't want you to realize the trap that you are literally being groomed for in their satanic schools. They really don't want you to realize it until like one white sister on the thing was like, what? We're doing everything we're supposed to do. We're doing pretty good. And yet, we're still just hamsters on the wheel. What is this? This is crazy. She realized, or come to the realization, that she was a slave, or they are slaves. They're just born to get up. Or in other words, like, a lot of people compare this to like the Matrix, where everybody was plugged into the Matrix, and they're energy batteries for the Matrix. Their whole purpose is to feed the Matrix. And that's what keeps the Matrix going. You're just a battery, an employee, a sharecropper, a slave. Okay? Let's move forward. All right, one more time. I'm really trying to give you everything I can. It looks like my highlighter isn't as highlighted as I wanted it to be, but we're going to keep moving on. An employee, we're analyzing the difference between an employee and a slave, or we're comparing them. An employee, we're starting with the white text, is a person who works and provides labor for another in return for financial or other compensation, right? A slave is one who is owned and controlled as the property of someone else, or forced servitude, forced labor, right? But here is what you need to focus on, the text in red. An employee, with their financial compensation, pays for their basic needs. And that's all they can afford. They can't afford anything else. A slave's basic needs, in red, is provided. So what's the difference? If you cannot afford anything else beyond your basic needs, what's the difference? Exactly. All right. As I said, slavery by different names: capitalism, the market, inflation, unlimited profits. This is a capitalistic system. That means the man on top with the crown is getting ahead, moving forward in life, building wealth and resources by stepping on or taking advantage of or robbing the people that work for him. Whether they're slaves and the slave master is providing their basic needs, or whether they're employees, slaves, and the slave master is paying them a slave wage so they can pay for their own basic needs and somehow feel like they're free. They're really doing something. Yeah. What's the difference? All right. So in addition to that, the masters, the owners, the slave masters in this capitalistic system, they have the ability to have unlimited profits. That's why you've seen different reports and charts and whatnot. It's like the 1% owns more wealth in the world than the bottom 99%. Because they got unlimited profits. There are no profit margin caps or nothing to restrict their greed. That's what the sister in the last part of the clip was like. Why are the wealthy not sharing more of the wealth in the world? Because they're satanic. This is a satanic system. And for those people who are able to figure out a way to get off that hamster wheel and become an owner or a master or slave master themselves, they like, hey, I figured out how to do it. You got to figure out how to do it too. Now that I'm done it, I've figured out how to do it, and I'm out here getting mine and building wealth and getting wealthier. It's not my job to come back and just bail you out or bail other people out. I started in the same position you did. That's their mindset, which is why I was saying that sister really doesn't understand how our system works, our capitalistic system works. Okay? Then in addition to that, the owners, the employers, the corporations, the governments, they have all kind of other restrictions on the employees or slaves, right? Remember, the lie is, the trick is they make most people think we're free, but you're really not. Even as an employee, so-called, there's non-poach agreements and laws, non-compete agreements and laws, and a thing called traps, which on your screen here is another report that I have here, One Brothas Mind. Go to the video tab, scroll down, and go through all the pages. And if you don't see it there, go to the live tab and scroll down. You'll find this report in one of them and go through all the pages where I go into more detail explaining the restrictions that they have on, the legal restrictions they have on employees. Real quick, they got stuff like when you sign for a new job, a part of that agreement is if you work at McDonald's on 23rd Street and there's a Burger King a block, like a half a block down, further down 23rd Street, you can't quit your McDonald's job and go work for a Burger King because they're offering you 25 cents or 50 cents more an hour. McDonald's can sue you as an employee for that, for doing that. Those are non-compete agreements, non-poach type agreements. Trust me, I go into more detail explaining all that if you didn't know. You can't start your own, like you work at McDonald's, you learn how to make hamburgers, and you're like, you know what? I got me a grill at home. I'm going to start making and selling hamburgers myself. Wait a minute. Did you check your employment agreement? You may have a non-compete agreement because you may only live a few blocks away from that McDonald's. And if you start doing it and say your burgers, people love your burgers. Y'all say you got a gang of customers and you doing well. McDonald's find out about it and they come around and go, wait, ain't that Johnny? Yeah, that's Johnny. He's selling, he's a competitor of ours. He's selling hamburgers. Next thing you know, you getting served with legal papers and a lawsuit because you signed a non-compete agreement. Okay, again, I go into far more details explaining these restrictions that are extra restrictions that they've put on employees, slaves. Go to One Brothas Mind, scroll down, video or live tabs, you'll see these and many other reports. Okay, so let's talk solutions, because here at One Brothas Mind, let's go back up. Let's back up. Let me back up. I got one more thing I want to cover. Give me just a moment, family. One more thing. Bear with me. I wanted to cover before we go to solutions. Let's try to see here. Let's see if we can get it together. If I got it together. Okay. Let me try to fix it for you right quick, just to make sure I'm gonna get it. I want it to be nice and big. Okay. You heard one of the sisters in the original clips talk about how she ain't really tripping off of how people are stealing, things to make it nowadays. Well, even in Katie Smooth's area or city, they have a response for that. And you may have seen some of these in your area as well. But I got two couple of second clips I want to share with you, two more. And if you haven't seen these in your area, they're coming. Here we go. Okay, y'all. The Walmart in the hood, this is what they're doing. Putting up these anti-theft cabinets. And then you got a big shop here. Get something. They ain't putting these up in everywhere. Yeah, there you go. So some of you guys have already seen these, but if you have not, they're coming to an area or store near you in most places, especially in the areas where people there's the largest collection of employees, I mean slaves, that are only receiving pay just barely enough to pay for their basic needs, if not enough at all. So people are resorting to stealing. So the slave masters, the owners, and in this case, the store owners, the supply owners, they're putting everything behind locked cabinets. Now you got to come and ask them, can I get this bottle of lotion out of here, please? I want to buy that. Okay. Go up to the register. We'll bring it around. Or they'll open the cabinet. You want this one? Okay. Here's one. Close the cabinet, put the lock back on. Now you got one bottle of lotion. You can't come in there and they watch you take it up to the front register to pay for it too. Right? I got one more for you real quick. Yeah, as I said, they already got the cabinets put in for all the laundry supplies. Yeah, this was, I kind of get it. It was a lot. This was a lane that had already, that same crew I showed you, they had already finished this first aisle and they were working on the second aisle. Theft is increasing. They're economically starving the black community. So a lot of people are turning to stealing regular, everyday needed items to survive. So I get it. But, oh well. Yeah, so that's their response, or one of their responses right now. The slave masters are locking groceries and supplies up because theft has skyrocketed, right? But I actually want to show one more thing. Bear with me, family. It just crossed my mind, and I want to share it with you briefly here. Give me just a moment. Okay. Let's see here. Give me just a moment. Because there is something happening. Also, there's something happening that are a part of our recommendations here at One Brothas Mind. I want to share that with you really quickly. A lot of people, are realizing what's going on, a lot of what's going on, a lot of the things that we've been talking about. And I'll wait. Because we got to start with our solutions, and I don't want to get ahead of myself. So we're going to go back to our solutions, and then I'll share the additional thing I just remembered here. So let me go back. Bear with me to where we left off. All right. Solutions. The first solution is, first, you need to read your scripture. Everything that I'm talking about, everything that I've discussed, all of the concepts, they're all in scripture. Scripture provides information for all this stuff as well as the things to come. So that's the first thing. While you're in scripture, if you're reading and studying it correctly, the hope is that you will build and develop a relationship with Yahushua HaMashiach, Yahushua the Christ, and accept him as your Lord and personal Savior, and become obedient to his word or scripture, right? And then after doing those things, or while doing those things, you will seek Yahushua's guidance in regards to what you should be doing or need to do to navigate all of this craziness going on. And in this specific example, to navigate what's the best way for you to earn income? Is it being an employee, or is it starting your own business, kind of becoming a master yourself? But you need to seek your guys, because I want to say this, I don't mean this the way it's going to sound, but just taking the lazy route, going to their brainwashing satanic schools, being trained to be an employee or a slave, coming out, getting a regular job, you're only going to earn enough income to pay for your basic needs. And like most people, you're not going to feel like you're getting ahead. You're eventually going to come to the realization that I'm just a hamster on a wheel. It's going to piss you off. Or you can do what I just suggested, and Yahushua will show you, by highlighting your specific skills and talents that Yah has blessed you with, what other options you may have. You may be good at doing something else. So good, or can become good, to where you can open up your own business, your own side hustle. And actually, by doing so, now you're in total control of your life, what you work, when you work, where you work, what you got to do. You actually, in many cases, people are definitely discovered they're able to make a larger income doing their own thing, as opposed to being a slave, or an employee for these other companies, right? So that's the first thing you need to do. That's always the first thing. Seek Yah and the Messiah, Yehoshua HaMashiach. That's the first thing you always do in everything. Okay? Next, you say, well, like the one sister was talking about, she told her kids to go to college and come out and give them that whole spew. That is not foolproof, right? One, you have to go to college for a career field that's paying, and our recommendation here at One Brothas Mind, at minimum $100K a year as of today. Minimum, and that's the bare minimum. Whatever you're going to college for, when you graduate and you become an employee, a slave, you have to be making or being paid at least $100K in most cities throughout the U.S. to be able to financially survive and make it and feel like you have some left over to get somewhere, to save, to build. Now, of course, in the larger cities, that's not even enough. You need to be somewhere around about 150 or more. Okay? So just going to college, that's not it. You have to specifically identify the degree programs where you're going to be making the minimum income that's needed in today's society. Most people going to college, you hear them, I'm taking business, I'm taking sociology, psychology, all these, they got a whole bunch of them. It's a gang of them. Social work, they come out, they're making $40, $50, $60,000 a year, and they cannot survive with the prices and expense of living as it is today. But the colleges don't care. That's just free money to the colleges that you have to pay back, in addition to trying to survive. That's just free money. They're not going to tell you, oh, you shouldn't go into real estate. You shouldn't go try to be a real estate agent or You shouldn't try to be a social worker or a psychologist, or they got this. It's a long list of stuff, and they'll lie to you. Like, well, if I study to be a psychologist, could I make $100,000 or over $100,000? Yeah, if you use it right. Are there some psychologists and psychologists? Yeah, they are. But most of them have their own practices, and they have a great customer base, a high-paying customer base, or a customer base that can afford higher fees. So they're making that amount of money. But most people that got a psychology degree, they're caseworkers somewhere for some entity, and they're making $40,000, $50,000 a year. And now that they're making it, they're like, I messed up. I can't make more money than this doing what I'm doing now. I got to do something else. Don't get caught in that trap, family. Do your research. High school students that are soon to graduate, you're going through this process. Parents, y'all got to do your research. What are the salaries for the current salaries for whatever degrees that you and your child are looking for or looking to go into in college? Make sure that they are degrees that they're going to graduate making at least $100K per year. And if they're not, don't go after that degree. It's just that simple. Okay? And again, here at One Brothas Mind, as you see on your screen, I have a report where I break down several ways for you, especially us so-called black people, to help our children graduate college with zero debt or zero student loan debt. Go to One Brothas Mind. This report I know is in the video tab. Scroll down and you may have to go through several pages of it, but you'll eventually find this report as well for more information and details on how to do that. There's ways to do it. I literally have my oldest child following this plan as I speak. She's in starting her third year of college, and she has no debt, no student loans. Yeah. So that's a potential option, and you can get that information on that report. Also, your side hustles. Like I said, if you're an employee, a slave, and you're realizing you're barely making ends meet, or they not meeting, you working hard, you put in your 40, 80 hours a week or every 2 weeks or whatever, and the money you're being paid is just not enough. Look within yourself. What skills, what talents do I have? What can I do? You may not have any that you can think of that you think is valuable enough for you to use to make more money, more income than what you're making as a employee or a slave. But you do. There's something out there for everybody. If nothing else, you can just use some of your slave wages, put some, as much as you can to the side, buy a lawnmower, a gas can and a lawnmower. Start cutting grass as your part-time job, your side hustle. Make that extra money, keep that extra money, save up for a bigger lawnmower and a weed eater, a weed whacker, and then step by step build up with the money you're making just literally doing landscaping. It doesn't require a major skill or talent just to be able to push the lawnmower, drive the lawnmower straight. Know what you're doing. Know how to operate your machinery safely. That's all it requires. There's landscapers making over $100,000 a year every year. They figured it out. They got the big riding lawnmowers you see on the bottom right corner. They used to work at the slave master shop, but they got out of that. Many of them started out with just a little regular push lawnmower and a gas can and went up and down a community going, hey, Gotta cut your grass. You need your grass cut. In their spare time. I'm not telling you necessarily to quit your slave job just abruptly. But if you're going to work overtime and spend more time, you might as well try to get something going for yourself where it's all your money. You ain't working for somebody else. Work for yourself. Become your own master. That way you're in control. Or if you're really good at cooking certain things, open your own catering business. You really can become really good at growing a garden. Turn your whole backyard, and if possible, your whole front yard into a garden. Grow food and start selling it to the whole community. Some people are barbers or beauticians. Some people do auto repair. They have experience. There's all kind of side hustles that you can turn into your own business. Okay? And make more money than what you're making or being paid in regards to the slave wages as an employee. So there you have it, family. More information and breakdown as to the fact that slavery never ended. It was only expanded. What you gonna do? Oh, I forgot. Let me share this with you right quick. Here at One Brothas Mind, and a lot of people are, because of what's going on and the high price of food and things, they're getting into stuff, prepping and trying to come up with other solutions. I mentioned the gardening solution. Here's Katie Smooth's garden. Yeah. This is literally my personal garden. I got in, I'm on my second year and I'm doing well with it. But as you see by the title, it's called the Secure Mobile Raised Bed Gardening System. Well, you're asking yourself, why has it got to be secure and mobile? Remember, I showed y'all, let me go back to it. Remember I showed y'all this? Yeah, these security cabinets. People out here in many situations feeling like they have to steal their basic needs. So if they're at the store stealing their basic needs, and you start a raised bed gardening system or garden in your backyard, and it's in the ground or on top of your ground, it's just sitting there, what do you think is gonna happen? People are gonna start doing? Yeah, you get it. They're gonna come and start stealing the food that you are growing. A lot of people, you can watch videos all over YouTube about gardening. Most of them are not telling you this part. A lot of them are getting hit. A lot of them, their gardens are being raided by people who are also hitting the stores, right? Because people are trying to survive, man. So the gardens are being raided. The raised bed gardens are just regular in the ground on their properties. Whether they got a homestead or not, they're being hit. And they're not telling y'all. Which is why my garden is a secure, mobile raised bed gardening system. As you see, it's in buckets, on carts, on wheeled carts. My entire garden, if and when I want to, I can push and roll each of my carts, garden carts, into my garage. Close my garage, which now my garden is what? Secured. How? Because it's mobile. It's all on wheels. Every cart I got, let me play a little bit of this. Every cart I got is on wheels. I just play just a little bit of it if I can here. This, let me see. You'll see me putting put my garden together. Here's another one of my garden carts. I'm mixing my dirt here, getting it prepared. You see my buckets, my irrigation system, everything. But notice at the bottom of all the carts, there's wheels on every one of them. Like I said, I can roll each of my carts, my entire garden, into my garage. So basically, if I want to or I feel the need, there you go. You see them? Wheels, everything. If I want to or I feel the need or I'm suspecting some goings-ons may be coming. Somebody may be coming, some Pookies, some Ray-Rays, some Karen and Darrens may be coming because they are in need of acquiring some free food out of my garden. I can lift these carts up, just pick up the handles, roll them into my garage, close my garage when the sun goes down. Every day. And my garden is secure. And then at sunrise, the next morning, roll each of my carts back out to my staging area where they get all the sunlight they need, and keep going. I can do that every day. Whereas if you put your garden in the ground or on a raised bed on top of your ground, you can't move it. It's out there. It's available. You got to do a whole lot of other stuff trying to secure a garden that's connected to your ground, to your land. Again, most people on YouTube are not explaining this element, but I do here at One Brothas Mind. Again, go to One Brothas Mind, but before you do, smash the like button, share this report on all your social media with all your peoples, and be sure to be subscribed to One Brothas Mind, where we try to bring you the information and facts you need. And once you do that, then go to One Brothas Mind. Go to the video tab and the live tabs. If you're interested in my mobile raised bed gardening series, go into there's some of them there's the first couple in the part 1, part 2, part 3, I think is in the video tab. I would recommend you start at part 2, because part 1 is just a comic nightmare. I was doing my seeding and Hasatan attacked me outside with me. I'm trying to plant my seeds. All hell broke loose. So if you want to laugh at Katie Smooth, definitely do that. Watch number 1. Trust me, watch number 1. But if not, go to number 2 and then travel through the gardening series. You can even go to the playlist tab. I have these in a specific playlist. You can watch them. I show you exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing, when I'm doing, what I'm learning, what adjustments I've had to make. All of the information I'm showing you. Okay? But for this report, the focus is it's a secure, mobile garden. Because again, people out here trying to survive, and they are going to do the worst. As things get worse, all of this is going to happen more and more. And then once the stores have locked up all their stuff, guess where they're coming? Your house, your garden. Exactly. So there you have it, family. Slavery never ended. It was only expanded. So let's chop it up on this report in the comments. Y'all let me know what y'all think, and we'll discuss it from there in the comments. So this concludes this broadcast for One Brothas Mind. We thank you for joining us. And as a part of the new Black media, B1 choices are mandatory, and being on code is required. But never fear, Yahushua HaMashiach is with you always. Shalom.